All right, what's going on, Facebook? It is Friday, March 12th, and it is 3 p.m. It's actually 1 minute past 3. I'm 1 minute late. Awesome. Anyway, I hope you're all well. I hope you're all doing everything to stay safe and sane. I want to thank you all for being here again today with me and my guest. If anybody is out there, give me a shout out in the comments. Send a like my way. It's always good to know who I am talking to or who we are talking to in this case. Um, we are unfortunately today on the sad anniversary of my last day, at least a sad anniversary for me. This today 1 year ago was the last day I did a professional, or not, I shouldn't say last day I did a professional job, but was my last time playing with other people in a room. So that was, that was today, 1 year ago. Hey, what's going on? We seem to have a lot of watches. Let me just see. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ken Basque, good to see you. Jimmy McGear, good to see you. Jose Rosa, good to see you. Gareth Hughes, what's going on, Northern Ireland? Jenna O'Mara, sparkling in and sounds great. Hey, what's going on, Jenna? Welcome. Ruben, what's going on? Gareth, all right. Oh, March 13th was your last gig as well. Yeah, so it's a worldwide disaster that happened, and that we continue to be in. Clifford, what's going on, man? Good to see you here. So anyway, it's been a year since I basically was in a room with other people playing music, and it's not as if I have not been playing gigs or have not been doing jobs since then. Nevertheless, it just struck me today as, oh man, it's been exactly 1 year. I went back to my Instagram post from a year ago, which was done while we were doing this recording, playing chamber music behind a jazz piano player playing upright, chamber orchestra, very beautifully lush, arranged and recorded, well recorded. I believe the artist's name is Fahir Atakoglu. You can check out his latest album. That's me playing the upright in this chamber orchestra. And that was it. Packed up, came back home, and stayed home. And that was it. It's kind of mind-boggling, at least for me, because I'm not used to that. I am used to 8 shows a week, and if I am not at the theater, I am doing something else which involves one of these instruments with me, either in a recording session or in a rehearsal studio or on a different gig or whatever it might be. I'm one of those musicians who does not take time off, which is something that I have been forced to do now, and which is something that I perhaps should be doing more often. Excuse me. So, uh, you know, th- this is just life in 2020 and 2021, and it's going to be, it's going to get better. That I'm convinced of, and whoever needs to hear this, take it from me, it's going to get better for what that's worth. I don't profess to be much of really educated consumer of news, but that much I know is that apparently our numbers are perhaps getting better. Maybe, I hope so. Anyway, let's keep putting masks on, wearing masks. Let's get those vaccinations. Because from what I understand, from where I'm sitting, from where I'm standing, that's the best chance we have to beat this thing. So let's just keep the pressure on. I mean, how difficult can that be? And how many more people do senselessly need to die for certain people to understand that? That is, that's just an incredible amount of ignorance that I can't even comprehend. But here we are. it's been a year, and we have survived this last year, and we are moving forward. And let's just do everything so we can all move forward, and that means wear a mask and get those vaccinations. Um, if you have a better a better idea, let everybody know. You know, because obviously you know something that um, every scientist on this planet has overlooked. Anyway, before I get too far down that rabbit hole, let me once again say hello and welcome to everyone watching. I am so happy that you're here. I'm so grateful that you're here and that you choose to spend this time with me. Um, I have a great show to you, or a great live video, I should say, for you today. I'm very excited about my guest, who is going to be the great Ron Jenkins. And let's see if we have any more comments over here. Okay, we're good. And perhaps just a little bit of housekeeping before I go into this week's topic. So today I'm talking to Ron Jenkins, and I'm super excited about that. I think Ron is one of the most tasteful players that I have ever heard, and he's had an immense impact on my playing after I moved here. Next week, I'm talking to Ulysses Owens Jr., great drummer, great friend, and great drummer. And we have decided to do a live video together entitled Drum and Bass. And the idea here is that we're both talking about 5 drum and bass combinations that influenced us, or that for whatever reason has left a mark on our musical being. I don't know which 5 he's going to bring. He doesn't know which 5 I'm going to bring. But I think it's going to be really, really interesting. And then the week after that, on March 26th at 6 p.m., note that the live video on March 26th is not at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. My guest in that video is going to be the great Ted Gould, who is a bass player hailing from New Orleans and a good friend. And we are going to attempt to take everybody who's watching Uptown Mardi Gras morning, which means that we're attempting to perhaps break down the New Orleans sound. All right. I'm super excited about that live video as well. I'm a big fan of New Orleans. I'm a big fan of the music that comes out of New Orleans and the entire vibe of the city. And Ted was nice enough to basically try to recreate a lesson that I took from him a couple years ago, where I attempted to get closer to the New Orleans sound. So we are trying to, on March 26th, we are going to recreate that lesson and perhaps take it a step further. All right. And that kind of brings me to what I say every week. If you want to get in touch with me concerning teaching, concerning remote recording, please use the email in the description of this video, which is george@georgefarmer.com. I'm just checking if I put all the information in. Oh yeah. And if you want to contribute to the cause, I put my Venmo and PayPal information in here as well. Every donation is very much appreciated, and to those who have donated in the past, let me just once again publicly express my sincerest gratitude. It's at times overwhelming, and I do want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's very cool that you all are there, and that you choose to spend your time with me, and that, you know, some of you even contributed. Oh, and before I forget, I am 2 subscribers short of 100 subscribers on YouTube. So whoever is watching this, whoever is listening to this, check out the George Farmer YouTube channel, okay? Right now I'm at 98 subscribers, and I believe at 100 subscribers something happens, something magical happens with that YouTube channel. I have no idea what it is, but apparently it's a milestone. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. You find all of my videos over the last year. All of them are archived there, and you can, you know, watch them at your leisure. I am working on several new projects that are also going to be there in one form or another, perhaps linked to my Patreon account or something like that. But check it out. And yes, I'm 2 subscribers short of 100 subscribers. I've never asked for subscriptions, but now I do, because I think this milestone of 100 subscribers is really, really close. All right, and it's really cool. I mean, all the videos are archived there. Uh, be it the live videos, or all of the follow-up videos, or all of the videos where I'm recreating sounds from albums that I liked, or playing certain basses and playing certain songs that all go together with the live videos. On that note, let's get into this week's live video before I talk too much. My guest today is the great Ron Jenkins. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background while I have Ron waiting in the waiting room. But my introduction to Ron was in 1997, I believe. And that was pretty much a couple months after I moved to the US, to New York. He was playing an open mic at a place called the Dark Lounge on 72nd Street here in New York, in Manhattan to be precise. 72nd between, what was that, Columbus and or was it perhaps Amsterdam? Amsterdam and Broadway, I believe. I was told by a mutual musician friend to check out this open mic. And I did. And I subsequently ended up going there for what seemed like at least 6 months, or 3 months. It's hard to tell, but I ended up going there maybe for a year, every Sunday night, to check this out. And I ended up starting to sit in there, and Ron was nice enough to let me sit in and all of that. And we're going to talk about all of that and that whole experience. But yeah, I became a fan of his playing immediately. I really enjoyed the tastefulness that he brought to the table, that he brings to the table, because he is very much still active, and at the same time, it's this unique combination of tasteful playing, meaning playing the right thing at the right time with the right phrasing, with the right inflections, with the right dynamics, and at the same time being completely unapologetic, loud, strong, fierce, in your face, make you move bass playing. It became sort of, for me at the time, coming from Vienna and not having that much of a background here in the States, it became the embodiment of modern R&B, modern bass playing as such, modern electric bass playing. So without any further ado, let me bring him in. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation that will perhaps touch on a bunch of topics. So here is Ron Jenkins. All right. Ron, can you hear me?
I can hear you, George. Can you hear
Awesome.
me?
Yes, I can hear you. What's going on, Ron?
Man, not a whole lot, not a whole lot. It's good to see you.
It is good to see you too, man. Absolutely. Let me just make sure I get this screen here correctly and whatnot. Oh, here we go. Awesome. Great, man. You look fantastic. Welcome to the live video. Thank you so much for being here today. World meet Ron Jenkins. Ron Jenkins meet the world, but you already know the world, so.
Greetings, world.
Okay, awesome. So without any further ado, I just gave the audience a little bit of a background on how we met, right? Which was, I believe, in like 97, and you were doing the live video at sorry, not the live video. You were doing the open mic nights at the Dark Lounge, right? And perhaps, but in order to kind of talk a little more about your particular style of playing, which I which was sort of the representation, the first representation of modern bass playing to me, right? Coming from Vienna. Let's go back just a little bit. You are originally from Virginia, is that correct?
Yep, from
All
Hampton, Virginia.
Okay.
So well, I was raised there, yeah. So like, my father was in the Air Force. So from the age 5 on is when he sat there. So from the age like 4 or 5, I was in Hampton.
Oh, okay. And as such, you were in the vicinity of a bunch of other bass players, a bunch of other well-known bass players. And I do want to touch on that because there was, correct me if I'm wrong, James Genius, the Wooten family, perhaps Oteil Burbridge. I'm not really sure about that.
I didn't know him. So
okay.
At that time, yeah.
Okay. So, but there seems to be like a hotbed of bass playing coming from that particular area in the US. And it kind of ties in with a continuing thread that has sort of established itself in these live videos and in the follow-up videos, and that is the regionality of R&B, the regionality of African American music and African American arts. What would you believe, or what is your take on sort of, let's say, the Virginia sound?
Virginia sound, it's we're kind of like, I would say all of us know how to play the role of just playing bass.
Right.
And so it's kind of based in funk and soul kind of thing, because there was also a guy who was a little older than we were, named Alvin Moody.
Okay.
Who's also, who was completely like blazing.
Yeah.
But that sound, and I mean everything in that area, because there were only two radio stations.
Right.
There was the rock station, and then there was the funk station. So I was so we all we're mainly hearing the funk station. So basically everything that I heard was groove bass, and and so my father played Motown in another house like a lot, and Bobby Blue Bland. So everything that I heard was just groove kind of music. So I didn't really hear any kind of fusion or like anything jazz wise till a little bit later. But like my early years were, it's like, hey, Jackson 5, Temptations, the Supremes.
Right.
So that's kind of what we all came up hearing.
That's so deep. That is so deep. And that inadvertently must have left a mark on all of those players. Because, I mean, just like you, James Genius, the Wooten family has, like, there is a distinct sound. There's a distinct work ethic. There's all of that comes from that neck of the woods, for lack of better description. Like, I'm not meaning to make it smaller or anything, but there seems to be, like, a common thread with all of you guys from Virginia. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill Withers is from Virginia.
I'm not sure about that. So that would be something that I maybe should find out. But take to research that.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think I was watching the movie Still Bill, and he talks about being from Virginia and being from this rural area. So take us just very quickly, because I did tell the audience that at the time it was 97. The Darkster Lounge had this open mic thing, right? The Darkster Lounge probably doesn't even exist anymore at this point, or it has changed names so many times that
it's changed names. Yeah.
It's kind of difficult to keep track of all of that. But at the time, it was my understanding that was every Sunday. That was not your only gig. Is that correct? Like you did stuff earlier during the day, perhaps did a church service or something, and then came to the Darkster Lounge and played the open mic. Did that happen fairly often, or was that something that was your routine, so to speak?
Well, I was there most Sundays, like when I was in town around that event. But I was also doing other gigs. I was going out on the road then, and around then I was playing with Joe Bowie,
right,
with the group called Defunct,
right,
and then I was also doing a thing with Bill Evans, the saxophone player.
Right.
You know,
right.
so I was in and out of town, and I would do, you know, you come in and you do the circuits, like you do weddings, you do the club gigs, and on Sunday, you know, I like have that gig, you know, steady on Sundays.
Right.
So I was like, hey, you know, I'm, you know, got bills to pay.
Yeah.
So you go out and like you work, you know.
Yeah, of course,
and, you know,
of course.
You know.
No,
but no, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Let me
no,
just.
I was just saying that, you know, but those were like good because and one of the reasons why I really liked doing the Dark Star was because Michael Ray, who was like leading it then, you know, he wrote the greatest charts. It's like he would handwrite the charts and they just looked beautiful, you know. So his charts were always written out. So there was not a lot of guesswork. It was just, you know, okay, come in, we're gonna, you know, here's the charts, and we read them, you know, and then there was, you know, singers would come in and do stuff. But just, you know, I just like the fact that Michael had a book of well-written charts.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and that for an open mic is unusual. I mean, that's, or at least, you know, if there are any charts, you know, they get passed out fairly quickly, and you kind of have to catch stuff quickly, right?
Because it's like he would do a set first, you know, of his songs.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, good. So there's no extra pre-prep week during the work. You can just show up and just read the charts, you know.
Right.
So that was fun.
So cool. Now this is totally taking me back right now. It's because, you know, I arrived there and you know, that was my perspective from the audience, and I am in the audience now. I hear this incredibly funky music. I hear this, you know, loud music. There's also like a big difference between coming from Vienna and being here in New York was live music in clubs. The volume was just a whole nother level. And it took me like 6 months to really adjust to that. And that's something that perhaps you know, people don't necessarily understand or don't necessarily see that way. But in Vienna, like the bass was never turned up that loud. You know, it was there, it was prominent and all that, but it was never like you could feel it in your chest or anything, like even in a small place. Whereas in New York, that's standard. That's your starting point. Like, we're gonna start there and then kick it up a notch, you know, several notches. So that was, you know, that was a big change, and as such, you know, as I told you, like when we talked about this live video, like you're playing totally exemplified this sound to me, right? This modern, this for real. This modern way of playing bass, right? Modern meaning contemporary, current, right? Whereas, you know, traditional, you know, going back to a Chuck Rainey, going perhaps back to a Pastorius, you know, whatnot. Modern meaning right now. This is 1996. This is what we sound like right now. This is 97. You know, this is what we sound like. Let's perhaps just go into what makes you sound the way you do, because I'm trying to establish to the audience that it's this wonderful combination of a lot of taste, meaning saying the right thing at the right time, playing the right thing at the right time, really communicating with whatever is going on around you, and at the same time a fierce understanding of what has come before you, and a fierce understanding of yourself, which kind of makes you sound twice as strong, because you know who you are. Right? So who is Ron Jenkins, and musically, where does Ron Jenkins come from?
Okay, let's see.
I know it's a lot.
No. Let's say it all goes, well, not all goes back, but when I was like, so this is from like 1971, so I'm like 6 or something, you know, and this group came out
right
a few years earlier, you know, group called the Jackson 5.
Right.
You know, and so everybody was hollering about the young singer up that was up front. And like, I was like, I want to be that dude there. You know, I was like, I want to be Jermaine, you know. So I was like, so my whole thing was like, man, there's something about what he's doing that I just wanna do that. So I was I was focused on like that.
Right.
And so then hearing all the songs that were in the whole, everything about the Motown sound, it was bass driven, but it was not like it was a bass feature. It's just that bass made everything warm and just was part of that glue that helped to hold everything together. So that kind of just stuck out to me for some reason, which I wasn't sure what that was then. But I just knew that there's something about that catches me.
Right.
So everything that I was hearing and everything that I was learning, even before I started playing bass, I just wanted to be bass, so I would get, a bad badminton racket and I'd act like I was playing bass, and everything. So I always wanted to like do that. And what I was listening to at that time helped shape what I wanted to play.
Right.
So even prior to when I started playing, my thought process was, I want to be this kind of player. I want to do this role here as a support thing, because that seems like it's important.
Right. Most definitely.
This is my lane here, and so I'm in this lane, and the drummer is in this lane here. Right. And if we all, drive in our lanes, then we don't crash.
Right.
And so the song just keeps on going. So that's kind of goes back to like that. And so coming out of, the thing with Motown, and then funk came in, the whole, on the whole R&B funk, with the James Brown stuff, and then, and just from there, everything that I was hearing, it was, bass drum and bass driven.
Yeah. Very much so. That's it totally took over in importance. It just rose and rose, right? Mm-hmm. There's one thing that there's a lot that we can talk about what you just said, but there is this continuous conversation piece and topic in the bass world and perhaps in the music world as a whole, and that is the virtuoso versus the functional player, right? For bass players, the virtuoso versus the groove player, right? I'm not the biggest fan of either one definition, because I feel like, well, wait a second, what are you going to call a Rocco Prestia? What are you going to call a Family Man Barrett? Because from what I understand, they didn't necessarily solo a lot, but you tell me whether this is virtuosic playing or not, because it sounds like virtuosic.
I think it is.
Exactly.
So it's he's this man. This is what they do. It's like
exactly.
It's like it's like, okay, I know that, like, for Rocco, he knows what his role is within that band.
Right.
All those other ones, Barrett, it's like you go, okay, this is the band. This is what the band does.
Right.
Okay, so you're looking around and going, okay, all these pieces, my job is this.
Right.
And if I'm not doing my job here, the band's not gonna sound as good as it should.
Right.
Because we all have to like do our thing. So there's a discipline, and I guess the word chops is to have the chops to stay put.
Right.
When you're supposed to.
Right. Chops does not necessarily need to mean a lot of notes.
Yes.
Chops can very much mean, wait a second, this requires me to stay on this one note right now.
On this one note, and play it
and keep it together. Yeah.
Yes, play it so it's nice and full.
Right.
Play it so that there's space and it's relaxed. It's not rushing, it's not pushing, and that you're playing with the drummer.
Right.
Because if like bass and drums aren't playing well, it's not going to be a good day.
Yeah, most definitely. No, it's not going to be a good day. It never is. Well, I mean, this that really goes to a new definition of virtuosic playing, right? Virtuoso
Yes.
in the classical sense of the word, of course, means, you know, a lot of notes, perhaps elevated speed, you know, faster tempos, etc., etc. Yet, and at this point, I should also probably point out to the audience that I always put up these playlists, right, with these live videos. And when I talked to Ron about making a playlist of his playing, not only did he send me one playlist with his playing with songs that he recorded, but he also sent me a second playlist with songs that influenced him. I put both of those playlists in the description of the video, so I highly recommend everybody check this out. It's exactly what we are talking about here. There is a lot of good stuff, a lot of great music in there. Coming back to this argument of virtuoso versus functional playing, in terms of you know, and this is I know the answer to this, so I'm not necessarily asking you something that I don't know, but I think it would be cool to hear from someone like you, in terms of self-expression, right? In terms of because there's always, you know, being there's a stigma kind of attached to being a functional bass player, like you're just going to you're like a step removed from a machine, right? What is your take on expression, what that is concerned? Like, if you're really in the pocket, if you're just a groove player, if you're a pocket player, if you're, you know, are not stepping out, not taking the spotlight, is that, in your opinion, do you give up part of your personality or not?
No.
Yeah.
Because and I say that in a way that I always wanted to be a sideman. I had no desire to be, you know, this front guy who's going to be standing up front and playing solos. You know, I did like one record back in like 2001, and I think that there may be a solo and a half of bass on it.
Okay.
Everything else is like, you know, I was doing things with for guys that I played with. So those were the songs that I tried to craft around them. But as in giving up part of yourself by knowing what your role is and what you want to do, I say no, because that is me.
Right.
Right. My thing is that, you know, I want to be part of the foundation where right. anybody can come in, right. whether they're singing, whether they're playing something, and just right. go, this feels good.
Right.
And that right. makes them better.
Right. Absolutely.
And so when that person that's up front, if they feel better, then they give that off to the audience. Then they like that, and then they hire that person back again. Right. And that person will go, hey, let me get these people who made me feel good and sound good. So it's about working.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. It's about employment. It's about this self-perpetuating sort of cycle of the better it feels, the better the audience feels. Therefore, the better the artist feels, more likely there is going to be a way to have more work in the future. So
and I just like that role, you know. I just like that role of just, you know, you and this drummer, you start playing something and it starts locking, and then you get some rhythm, right? You know, in there, and it starts locking, and it just starts growing. This whole right. thing, it just starts growing, and right. that feels good.
Right.
That's
right.
a great feeling.
Yeah. And then, you know, on top of that, there comes now the new definition of what it means to have chops, which is have the focus, have the discipline to be able to grow something, be able to, you know, sort of get out of the way and let it grow, and let, you know, together with the drummer, which is perfect segue. Because in the, you know, you sent me a bunch of pictures and I put them into the artwork advertising this live video, and there were these 3 pictures of various drummers that you worked with, and one was the great Buddy Williams, yes, the great Steve Ferroni, and the great late Ricky Lawson, right? And I wanted to get your take on you know, perhaps all 3 of them, you know, if time permits. You know, this is an open forum, so we have as much time as we want to take on this. But what is your what is your take on all three of them? I have definitely sang the praises of Buddy Williams. I've sang the song of Buddy Williams.
I sing the same song, you know.
Exactly.
You know.
But what is your take on all of that? Like the difference, the great drummers. Share some of that with us, because that's also a perspective that's uniquely to you, because you have had those experiences.
I learned from just playing with each of those drummers.
Right.
I learned things about playing bass,
Check
about placing stuff, in certain spots, and just learn how to, because there's a great feeling when you're playing with any kind of drummer, or not any, but when you're playing with a drummer that you trust,
right? That
you don't got to worry about, okay, is beats gonna drop? Is he gonna take off rushing, or something, right, whatever? So when you can do that, then you can just sit back and just enhance the feeling of what he's kind of doing. Right. I don't have to worry about, okay, do I have to hold him back? Is he gonna rush, or is it all three of those? It's like their clocks are right, just like that. Right. Right. But each of them plays slightly differently. It's like so then you go, okay, so what little things do I have to do to play with each of these drummers? Because like Steve's solid, but it's a straight, strong groove, and right, and everything. Buddy has this touch. Right. It's just amazing. Buddy can do things, and just one boom, one Buddy Williams tom, and one Buddy Williams high, one hi-hat sizzle. Just says so much,
and you know exactly what time it is. That's
exactly
so
what time it is, and then you're waiting for that hi-hat sizzle to kind of end, to drop where your note is. Because if you get there early, then it's like, oh, you messed up where that push and pull thing was gonna come, because he just comes around, so it's just, you got, so it's just about learning how to listen is the key thing. Right. And with Ricky, when I first played with Ricky, because he was coming on to do some gigs with Mrs. Baker with us. And so we got to the rehearsal, and Steve had and so Steve came in and subbed for Ricky on a few gigs. Right. I'm so lucky. Right, but the first time that I played with Ricky, we were in a rehearsal, and it's like, and we were playing these songs that we were playing. I think we were doing it was Just Because or something. And what's interesting is that almost every drummer, when you're playing with them, when you go into the out chorus of a song, and when they switch over and I go to the ride cymbal, it'll there's a slight dip, because right, this energy is gone, and it's changed. So it's right, usually expected to go, and they go to the ride cymbal, but there's a slight little dip, and then it goes up. Well, Ricky, we're sitting there playing, and we're good, and so we're getting to the out choruses, and he comes around, and when he goes to the ride cymbal, the whole song just opened up. And I was like, what the hell?
What just happened?
I'm like, because usually there's that quick dip, and then it comes up. So I was like, let me find out what he does for this. And I had to keep watching. And it's like he would do, because he's playing, when he's playing the hi-hats, that pulse is always going when he's doing this. Right. So when most guys go over to the ride cymbal, this leaves.
Yeah.
I watched his foot, and his foot was banging on the hi-hat, so it still sounded like he was hitting it with his stick. So that pulse never left. It just opened up with the cymbal. And I said, that's why he's on 1,000 records.
Yeah.
You go, just little things that you don't realize. Because so I was going, see, so you watch, and then you learn, and then you go, okay. So I just learned how to just place things with what they were playing, listen right, to them, and just feel and just move with them.
Yeah. No, that is so deep. That is so deep, and that is Unfortunately, that is something that you don't necessarily hear in schools, or even, a lot of people don't necessarily talk about this. So I feel like, okay, I've been very fortunate to be in the vicinity, like, the Dark Star Lounge, all the way, all the years back, because all of that was happening. All of that was happening on stage right then and there, right? This putting a magnifying glass over a drum and bass situation, over what you were playing, what the drummer was doing, and kind of getting all of your influences presented live right there, and just like we just talked about with those three drummers.
Yes.
there is no there is no way that you cannot play with them and end up a changed musician.
And
At
like
least,
Buddy, I mean to talk about, but like Buddy, there's something that's so special about Buddy and his touch
yeah,
and just the way that he's like playing. It's like there, it feels good, and his use of space
yeah,
is like and it's just and like when I first first of all, I was listening to like a few of my favorite records have Buddy on them.
yeah,
It's like there's a few albums that I have that are like my favorite records, and so I go. It's like, you mean I get to play with this guy?
yeah.
You mean this guy here? And it just felt so good. And he as a person, just, hey man, come on, so you go, and that just adds onto it. You go, man, it's like, but it's like play with him and just watch him and just watch him play and just play with him and listen to what he says too, because he would tell you a whole lot of things if you just listen to what he's telling you about how to survive in this business.
Yeah, totally.
But he just has the way of just that time work, man, and that it's just you just go, and I'm sorry, I'm not getting off topic, but I was playing with this drummer once, and like he was like, yeah, I want to study and like figure out how to play more of this soul stuff. I said, go learn A House Is Not a Home.
Yeah.
Bass players and drummers.
Oh yeah.
They go, oh, it's a slow song. It's a ballad. But I'm like going, if you can learn how they did that with all of that space in between all of those notes, and the song sits, but it doesn't drag, it doesn't push, and it sounds natural, that's virtuosic.
Yeah.
Back to your word again.
Yeah.
Because it's like that one song right there is a clinic in just how to lay something down at a tempo, and it's gonna lock there, and it's gonna and be musical, because like Anthony's notes in that song, they're just so they're just space.
Yeah.
They're just even.
Yeah.
Just his phrasings, and so just that song is a study within itself. I think that's just me.
No, you're totally right. I mean, I totally agree with you. I already like, after I did a couple live videos with Buddy, right? I did one that I totally dedicated to him, and then I actually had him take over one live video day, right? And we were talking just about Buddy and just about his recordings that he had done, right? And he would break down each and every recording. Of course, we talked about the Luther Vandross sessions a lot, right? I mean, that's just,
I love those records.
Yeah, you can't go. It's like Black Steely Dan. I don't know. It might be like a wrong thing to say, but that's the thing that comes to mind to me.
It's just
it's so good. Unbelievable. When is the last time that you put an album on and you don't stop, because you cannot stop yourself? Like you hear every track one after the other, right? You can't stop yourself, and it's like, it's stuff that you have never heard before, and yet it's so well executed, so well written, and so deep that it sounds like you've always heard it, that it's been part of you, of your psyche, of your mind. It's crazy. It's crazy good, right? So anyway, we talked a lot about the Luther Vandross recordings, and he had curated a playlist and talked about all of the recordings that were on, or most of the recordings that were on the playlist. It's uncanny. I'm so grateful to you that you brought up his touch, because that is unbelievable, and that's something that you kind of have to experience, be it in the audience or as a bass player. But and this is how, in my opinion, how this ties in back to you. Wait, I haven't left you. Still. And that is sort of an underlying theme that's been creeping into these live videos and into these videos on George's Bass Chat, and that is the amount of specificity that goes on with all of these players that I have on, with all of the players that are being talked about and all of that. The specific interests, the specific way of listening to music, right? The really deep listening, the trying to figure out, like you said with the Ricky Lawson example, like, how the hell did this just happen, right?
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't happen, and also a clear understanding of stuff just doesn't happen out of nowhere. There's a process behind that. So I'm really like, what you just shared with all of us is so deep, because it's exactly what these videos are really about. There's one thing that I wanted to get back to, and that was, and I don't know who played drums on the original album, but that is your long association with Anita Baker. And I think, why don't you talk about that? Because you've been with Mrs. Baker for 20 years now. Is that correct?
Almost 20, I think. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
No, yeah, most definitely. And here's the thing, like, here you have, just like Luther's album, you have someone who makes albums who become these iconic pieces of mastery and perhaps definitions of quality, right? I mean, I think that can be said. And the Rapture album is one of the deepest albums that I know, right? And that's got mostly, I believe, Nathan East on bass on it. So why don't you give us a little bit of a background as to what does it mean to play stuff that is so iconic, like that particular piece of music?
Okay. On most of her stuff, most of the drums, I would say 90% is Ricky or Steve.
Right.
On the first album, she was with a band called Chapter 8 out of Detroit, which is actually before the Rapture album. That was an album called Songstress, which Angel was on, which was her first real hit that was prior to her, her more wider recognition, because there was Angel, which was an album, and then Chapter 8 actually had Anna record, and a guy named David Washington played a lot of bass on a lot of that stuff. But like when it came to Rapture, that Rapture record has Freddie Washington,
right,
Nathan East, Jimmy Hayslip, Neil Steubenhouse. So you got all those bass players are like on that record. It's
no pressure. Just don't mess this up, okay?
That's the key, because it's like on a gig like that, I have to play those bass lines in a certain way, and it's like, so you play them, and you could maybe want to add this or something, or add that, but I'm like going, why? I'm like going, why? And also, if I change it, I run the risk of it not sounding like the line that's supposed to like go, and then the whole song goes into the ditch, and then they're all they're all going like, bro, what's up? But they're classic lines, and so my thought was, because with the Rapture record, with the Giving You the Best record, which Nathan puts on a clinic, and and the composition records, I'm like going, so you mean I get to learn these songs and play these songs, and you pay me? Fuck! It's a win-win. it's a win-win.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like then, and so you go, you know, all of us who've played in cover bands or whatever, you know, we all have played Sweet Love 1,000 times.
Right.
But then you're playing it and like you go, oh, that's the voice.
Right.
You know, it's a whole another, you go, oh, that's that voice, you know. So you kind of go,
sound of the song.
Yeah. That's the sound of the song. And then seeing how the audience relates to her is something that's special within itself.
Right.
Because they come to the shows to hear her sing her songs.
Right.
And they love her. And I don't know if I could be able to handle just that pressure of being as vulnerable as she wants to like be singing, because she's always gonna give her all when she's singing it. And so to sing those songs, she really has to be vulnerable. So I'm just like going, I don't know if I could do that in front of all those people.
Right.
But playing, you know, which I've had great drummers playing with me on that gig. So it's like you go. But like I say, the job is to know what my role is, and my role is to keep these songs steady, me and the drummer, and just let everything else that's on top. You know, that stuff can like change some, you know, here and there. You know, if she wants something, she wants a different part. But my role is to stay at home.
Right. Because somebody's got to stay at home. Somebody's got to, you know, keep the home fires burning.
Yeah. So I like always said that, you know, somebody has to stay home, even if you're on a fusion gig, and even if the drummer starts doing the whole drummer thing. I'm like, somebody has to stay at home, because if not, somebody's gonna open up the back door and the groove is gonna fall out, and then we're all screwed. So somebody's got to stay. Somebody's got to stay at home, you know, because we don't want to lose the groove. Because like, hey, who left the door open? You know. So
what just happened?
Yeah. So I just like to, you know, be like, you know what? I'm gonna stay put here, because there has to be a foundation.
Yeah. And again, like I'm just gonna repeat that once again, because this is important to understand. Like, that does not mean that it's not virtuosic, you know. But if we change the definition of what it means to be virtuosic, staying at home and being home base and being, you know, the functional player definitely means to have enough room to self-expression and all the attributes that are usually put on this word virtuosic, right? It's been something that I kind of have had a lot of trouble, not necessarily finding my way in it, but I have a lot of trouble when people make the distinction between, you know, a chops player and a jobs player. See what I mean? Chops meaning CHOPS, jobs player JOBS, right?
Yes.
So that's, you know, I'm like, well, can't a job player be a chops player as well? Like, why does it have to be two different things? And why is there always this distinction? Like, and again, like this Anita Baker, your Anita Baker situation is a perfect example for this is highly virtuosic playing. Make no mistake about it. This is like it takes a lot of focus, right? It takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of all the attributes that come with virtuosic playing, right? It takes all of those attributes and puts them into the functionality of being the bass player in that band.
Yeah.
You see?
Because I mean, it's just like, you know, somebody goes, oh, he's a chops player or he's a jobs player. I'm like, one, jobs players pay your bills.
Yeah.
And there was I was like somewhere and somebody's like, oh yeah, but so and so, he could do this and all this like tapping and stuff, it's like he's learned this. So I'm like, well, while he was learning all of that, I was learning how to gig. Because you can get a gig and not know how to gig and lose it very quickly.
Yeah.
Sure. So knowing how to gig is like, okay, I got called for like this, and so let me figure out, are there charts? Let me try to get a song list if I can, because some folks will send you stuff late, but like I used, and especially when I was living when I was living in New York, this is prior to sending files through emails.
Right.
I'd be like, dude, send me the FedEx with whatever that if I want like the studio copy, I want any kind of live version that's there, so I could go, okay, so where did they go different here, and I would work on all of that because I didn't want to walk into any rehearsal not knowing my shit.
Right.
Because I don't want to be the one where it's like, what's up? Hey, well, what's going on? I didn't want that to be me. I want to like know and just go, okay, I know my stuff here.
Yeah.
Because and I could just sit back when they're going over with someone else. I'm just going, whew, glad I'm not catching any of that heat now.
Right. Because you've done your homework, and you've invested the time into the material and all of that. I remember having conversations with you about that at the Dark Star Lounge, and the amount of preparation that you put forward and that you advocate for. Like, make sure you get everything together before you get into the rehearsal room, right?
Yeah. And like even after, but this I don't know. I want to say, when you were coming down to the Dark Side, when you first came to town, you just had that I'm gonna get this shit going vibe about you. You were just like, yo, I'm like here, I'm like learning, and that was just it's not, come on man, play, But
that's true.
So let's take in a gig like Anita.
Right.
So let's say, I've been doing that, let's say almost 20 years now. The gig doesn't change much. But so let's say if we did like a run this weekend, right? And so let's say that the next gig was going to be next Saturday.
Right.
Before I got on that plane to like fly out, I'd run the show again.
Yeah, of course.
Even though I've been doing it for years and years and years, I would not feel good if I didn't put on the show tape and run through that show again, because there's always that a point where like, and especially as we get older, our memories kind of start to fail some. But even if I've been doing, or like even, gigs with like, Jazz Funk Soul, which is the group that I do, I always run the show before I go to the gigs. Yeah. So if we're flying out on like Friday, I'll make sure that I'll run it on like Thursday. Yeah. Just so it's still fresh with it, Yeah, and then you go, oh man, but it's just like Sweet Love and Just Because and Been So Long. I'm like, but still, I have to make sure that, okay, you know what? Yeah, I know exactly where this is going, and just because I'm scared of getting fired. Right.
Also in anticipation of all the things that can happen on a gig, right?
Which they will.
Which will, right? You will have 1,000,001 points of distraction coming at you at the same time, right? So your playing needs to be automated. Your playing needs to be, there's this expression that I recently learned, practice until you can't play it wrong anymore.
Which you'll always be practicing.
Yeah, exactly. Practice until you can't play wrong, until you can't play the piece of music wrong anymore, whatever. It's funny you say that with the in regards to the Anita Baker song, Anita Baker gig, because that's the God's honest truth. That is my preparation model for subbing on shows. Yeah. And it doesn't matter whether I'm playing a show like The Lion King, and I've been subbing for over 12 years now, 15 years or whatever. Like, I know The Lion King inside and out.
But you run that book
every time.
Every
time. Like clockwork.
You have to do it. Yeah.
Every time. If I have to, and it doesn't matter to me whether it's here at home or whether it's if I have to rent a little rehearsal room at Michiko's in Midtown and just sit there with my Pandora's box and with the whatever MP3 player I'm using,
whatever it is.
Believe me, every time I'm sitting there and I'm running the entire, at the time it was still 3 hours, the entire show.
And that's why you've gotten the work that you've gotten, because as well as I know that there will be that time where you will get we're not caught off guard, but you're playing to show something, and the monitors or your ears will just take a crap.
Yeah.
And you have to be at a point where like you go, okay, I know this music good enough that I can know where it's going until they get this fixed.
Right.
Because with you and me, if the bass drops out because they can't hear something, everybody knows it.
Yeah.
If the bass plays a wrong note, everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Dude in row 33 goes, hey, that ain't sound right. So it's just fear of just that.
Imagine my feelings when doing now the current show that I'm doing, Ain't Too Proud, like the Life and Times of the Temptations, right?
I would love to have done that show.
It is.
If I was still living there, I would hound you until you gave me that book.
You would have to book. You would have to book. Don't even.
If I was there, it would just be a joke, dude. I will hunt you down until you give me this book because I love those, man. This like the attempts is what I, that's
But here's the flip side of that particular situation. Everybody, and I do mean everybody outside of our little musicians bubble, right? Everybody knows these songs. Everybody, right? It doesn't matter whether you're on 42nd Street or whether you're on 242nd Street or whether you're in Newark or whether you're in Mumbai or in Adelaide, Australia, or it doesn't matter. If I so much as hesitate at the beginning of My Girl,
it's
everybody will be like, oh, did you hear that? The bass player fucked up.
Yeah. Like, that ain't it. It's like, but it can happen. But like, you just got to go.
No deep breath and just go through it. There's no two ways but to go through it. You cannot fake that. You cannot fake any of it. And just like you working on these classic recordings and working the Anita Baker gig and I mean this is textbook. Anita Baker songbook is textbook for how to play pop music, how to play R&B. There was one thing that I wanted to ask you, and we're getting close to like going past an hour, and that's why I'm moving this along. Nevertheless, there was one thing that I wanted to ask you about, and that kind of ties in very well with the Anita Baker connection, because the sound on those original albums is fantastic.
Yeah.
And your sound always reminded me of those albums, right? There is sort of how do you put your sound together? I don't want to define it for the audience. I'd rather hear you define it for the audience. How do you put your sound together on the electric?
I like to get, what I try to shoot for is a good round but tight bottom,
mm-hmm.
and just that little pank, of if you're popping, and it's so, and I kind of usually try to stay with one setting a whole lot, and I may go up or like back with my fingers, where I'm going to the neck or the bridge, but I like to get a sound that's round, that's full, and that even because it's like times when even if I'm standing right in front of the amp, it may sound too big, but that bass sound spreads out once you get past it.
Right.
And so I'm like going, okay, but I kind of know what this is gonna do. So I like a nice low sound, or just low but crisp and tight. It's kind of this. It's like that Marcus sound where when he's playing songs. Right. It's big and round, but then there's that crispness to it where it's very, very, very clean. It's like that. It's like the sound with Mr. Jackson. Right. It's like there's that big, but it's crisp and it's clean. I'm still trying to get that good, but and so I don't usually run through and a bunch of stuff. It's like bass, cable, amp.
Right.
Bass,
cable, amp.
Bass, cable,
Yeah.
DI, which goes
Yeah.
out to the sound guy,
Right. Right.
because I'm like going, if I start doing a bunch of things here, I'm making his job harder.
Mm.
Because he has to mix in a concert hall or an arena or something. But I just like a nice full sound, and I would hear guys, playing in like clubs and stuff, and like they're playing, and so going, man, I wish I could hear more of some bottom end, and then they would get to that one song where it's the solo, and the bass would sound beautiful. And I'm going, wow. but like you wasted 7 songs that were supposed to be bass type songs, but your solo sound is great, but your ensemble sound wasn't there. So I focused on getting a sound that fits the ensemble.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah, most definitely. That's, because it's so, there's this nice, as you said, there's this incredible propensity, or I shouldn't say propensity, there's this incredible focus in the low bass frequencies of the sound, right? And there's a lot of focus there, yet at the same time, your bass speaks on the high end of the frequency spectrum just as distinctly, and that is something that is a difficult thing to achieve. That's just what it is. That's not the easiest, because people are spending many thousands of dollars to get exactly that sound. Very quickly, you still rocking the green Fender, right?
Yep, I have the green Fender which I had stock pickups until they both just died recently. Not both just died with a Sadowski preamp in them.
All right,
But like I got more pickups from Fender that I just ordered and put them in it. So it's like, okay, so it's cool. So that and my Sadowski, which I've been playing that since 1994.
Wow.
And so that's like part of that sound, because Roger just makes a good fucking bass. He just makes a good bass. It's just like so it's like so it's tight on the bottom. Right. And actually, when I got mine, he was still using EMGs, so mine have those in them. So that could be too. But it's just that I just like a nice clean sound that can fit in different settings without me having to like change a whole bunch of things.
Right. Because the more possibilities there are for change, the more something can go wrong. I mean, that's just the reality. I mean, right? So listen, there are bunch of people here in the chat. I got Harry Morris saying hello. We got Trifon Dimitrov saying hello. Bobby Brandon saying hello. Ken Basque. We got Hubert Eves the Fourth saying hello.
What's up?
Yeah, that is.
That's some strong playing all the way around, and like names that you have mentioned are a lot of groove there. You've mentioned a lot of groove.
Yeah, no doubt. But I do wanna shout out a couple players that I thought at the time were really kind of at least blowing my mind. Yourself, of course, at the forefront, because I saw you every week, literally, right? But then there was people like a Booker King, right? People like a Carlos Henderson, right? Between you 3 guys, like totally redid my definition of what does it mean to be a bass player? What does it mean to be a strong player, and at the same time be able to play a ballad, and take space and take up space by leaving space and all of that. That was perhaps one more thing that we should talk about, and we kind of already touched on it. But playing ballads, what's your take on that? Because that is something that is very, very often overlooked, and things kind of become, I don't want to say boring, but things kind of become, not as focused as they should be, perhaps. What's a good way of keeping the focus? What's a good way of approaching ballad playing?
Okay. First, let me say this first. When I moved to New York, the last week of 1989, right? So I'm getting in, I'm going, okay, let me go find out what the music scene is, you know. So I would go seek, you know, I would go to like clubs and everything, and, you know, I would stumble into Cafe Wa, you know, and like Billy Grant was down there just slaying shit. And Ron Long, if you're not careful, his groove will run you over like a train. So I was like, oh shit, what the fuck have I gotten myself into?
Right.
You know, because it's just that all the players that I was seeing were just rock solid.
Right.
You know, they were rock solid playing. You know, there was a guy named Barry Campbell whose one drop is just like, you just go, really? You know, so so it's just, you know, so I was like going, okay, so for me to work, I have to make sure that what I do is gonna not even, you know, because, you know, I'm not going, you know, I can't be as strong as these guys, but I can try, you know. But so back to the ballad playing, I've always loved ballads,
right?
You know, and there's a thing about space that you have to be able to like use, and you have to be able to like make your notes as long as, you know, as to like fit the space right. If you know, if you're playing ballads and if you're chopping off all of your notes, it's not going to sound fluid. You know, so just even, you know, listening to like I said, a house is not a home.
Yeah.
You know, just my imagination. You know, those kind of songs are just songs where it's slow and you know, guys who want to play chops go, oh man, I can do that, and I'm gonna go so do it. And it's not as easy because you have to be able to like play it, make it feel good,
right?
Not make it feel stiff, and then your choice of note is even more. You know, because you could do something and then you go, that shit didn't work, did it?
Yeah. No, you're totally exposed. You're totally exposed.
You're totally, completely exposed. But I mean, you know, I've always been, you know, a sucker for slow songs. Like I said, that's my love for Luther Vandross and the attempt stuff. You know, because you know it was not like they had fast songs, but just they had songs that grooved and just sat there. You know, so but just, and I mean even on because ballads doesn't mean that they can't grow.
Right.
If you look at like the Straight to the Heart album that Buddy's on and Marcus is on.
Yeah.
You know, songs like what's the main song, you know, Straight from the Heart. Yeah. The way that Marcus plays that, he builds that thing up. Yeah. From just it goes here, and by the end, that song is rocking and it's kicking, but it's still a ballad. Right. But it's just power.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just like it's this power thing now because they grew the whole thing.
Yeah.
From here to like there, and there was an album that I bought when I was in college. It was a Roberta Flack and P. Will Bryson live record called Live and More. And I think Marcus was about 20. But once again, Buddy, you know, but they played those songs, which were a lot of ballads, but they touched them in a certain way, you know, because I've seen where folks want to play ballads and like they wanted, and they don't give the proper respect to the song.
Right.
You got to respect every song that you're playing.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's just a matter of just, okay, I'm gonna sit here and my sound is good where it's gonna be full. It's gonna be kind of here, and it's like you gotta choose you gotta choose what you're gonna do good because you don't want to get in the way of the singer. You know, because that's the most important thing.
Of course.
Is the person that's up front singing or the instrumentalist that's like playing, but you want to make them go deeper inside of their self. So you want to just make this bed that just keeps kind of just doing this. And that doesn't mean cluttering up everything. It just means that it can intensify. It can start here, but it can just, you know, it can just blossom.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, on the Roberta Flack, P. Will Bryson album, it might be, I'm not 100% right now whether it's Marcus playing bass. It is Marcus. You sure?
Marcus. Okay. And Dwight Watkins is playing with Peebo because he's been his
Okay. Well, then
Yeah.
never mind then. I'm getting it confused with another album because I'm listening to actually Buddy hooked me up. He hooked me up. He told me about this live album of with him playing with Ruben Rodriguez.
Ah,
Yeah, behind Roberta in Japan, and I might be confusing it right
yeah.
now with a YouTube,
This one
live
came out in
video.
1980. You know what? I will send you the link in Spotify. This came out in like 1980 or
Yeah. I
something.
don't listen.
You know, so
I
it's,
don't
oh
doubt
man,
it. I don't doubt
it's,
it.
yeah.
And
But it's just how they play things.
yeah,
Just like, they play "If Only for One Night," and just,
mm,
Marcus playing, with little slight choruses on it, but just how he's playing it, he's putting in these few tenths, but they're all placed well, and like you go, and he was how old then? It's just that,
yeah,
it's just
yeah,
taste. It's just to
yeah.
play those songs with the taste. Yeah, it's like 1980 or something,
Mm,
and it's just like, it's just, I was like going, man, it's just so, I just get more of a connection with
right.
slow songs a
Right,
lot,
right. I totally get that. But that in you can just as well play fast songs as well. Like that's not the problem here, or that's not a situation. That's not something that you know you can do both. The thing
Fast to
that
a point.
fast,
Fast to a point.
There's one thing that I noticed, with the playlist that you sent over, and this is, just my 2 cents on it. The stuff that you recorded is that there is, this incredible, and again, this ties in, and perhaps this is a good, sort of closing of the circle of what we're talking about, meaning you. It ties in with this combination of taste and fierceness, right? Taste on the one hand, meaning the right thing at the right time, with the right phrasing, with the right dynamics, with everything just being the right thing for that time, and at the same time, extremely strong, right? It's at the same time almost um, unapologetically strong, unapologetically strong in the notes and in the space that's being left out, right? Unapologetically strong in the melodic choices that you do. This is,
Thank you.
yeah, no, this is for real. I mean, that's really, and that was something that I heard back then, at the Darkstar Lounge, and it was just, it definitely turned a lot around, for me, and it started making me investigate into, just for the audience, just to give like one example, investigate into playing over the bar line, right?
Mm-hmm.
In music school, college, whatever, of course you learn about playing over the bar line, and how it has been applied and all of that, but it doesn't necessarily get brought into now, right? It's like that was done back then, like the masters did that. Well, fast forward to 1996, 1997, at the Darkstar Lounge, Ron Jenkins is playing over the bar line, in his bass lines, supporting singers, supporting, Michael Ray, supporting, whoever is up on stage. And that brought it into the contemporary, brought it into today, brought that particular thing into today for me, right? And all of a sudden it was, oh, that's how it's done,
I
right?
just try to listen, because the thing is that,
There you go.
because I shouldn't be playing a bass fill when the drummer is already into a fill. I should be ready to kind of put the period on his fill,
Right.
something. Or it's so it's just a matter of just everybody getting their chance to, like, because it's a conversation,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so we're all talking, and so with those kind of things, um, I was taught a very good lesson about playing and trying to be yourself and not be anyone else. Like, it's like the early '90s, and I was playing with wonderful piano player named Mr. Philippe Stace. And I
Of
was, and
course.
so and so I was going to do a session for him, and I'm
Right.
still green and doing sessions because I'm just like learning. And so he sent me, he sent me, this song and sketch bass line on it, so I learned it, and I show up to his studio to play it. And so I'm like, oh, I'm going, man, I don't want to fuck this up. And so I'm like, so Philippe, I'm like, so you want me to like play in like more of a Marcus thing or like more of a Anthony thing? And he turned around and looked at me and said, bruh, I have their numbers. He said, I called you to do what you do when like we're playing gigs. And I was like going, oh, okay. Light bulb just goes off and just said, just play what you play. You know, George is going to play George. I'm going to play me. And, other dudes, will like play what they do. And but everything has a home where it's going to fit.
Right. You know, for sure.
But that was like this light bulb said, just play you, be who you are, and if you left what you can do best on the table, you know.
Yeah, you got no problems. You got no problems whatsoever. Well, listen, Ron Jenkins, man, this is awesome. I want to thank you so much for making yourself available today.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, of course. No, it's believe me, it's been going on and on and on in my mind for the longest time. It takes a minute to get all of that together and kind of get focused in one or another direction. But man, I do want to thank you so much for being here today. It's I think this is invaluable information, and I think this is something that I know that as I said, like hearing you guys play all those years ago totally changed my perspective on what's needed and what I needed to do to get there and to stay in the city and all of those things. Like I had to experience that,
But you came in there and like you put in the work.
Yeah, I
did. You came in, you studied the shit, you're reading, which is important. Yeah. I think, reading is extremely an important thing. So you had to read together, you came in and you were hungry and you were just a good dude.
Yeah. No, we had good times. We had really good times at the Dark Star Lounge. There's just no two ways about that. Booker King is here. Hey, what's going on? Wonderful and enlightening to hear both of you. Also, that's what Booker says. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Booker's been a staple around town for a while, and he just lays it down, and you can see your job done. It's like, yeah, that's and he which I've also learned too, that when you're playing, when I was in the clubs in New York,
right.
You got to play the right fucking bass lines, or they're gonna be like, "Yo, bro, you ain't playing this shit right." So Booker plays the right lines.
Right.
So all the guys, Ron Long, James Calloway, Hubert E. It's like when you go to the gig, you learn the songs, you learn the bass lines, and don't just go in there and say, "Yeah, I'm just gonna do this." There's a thing about you got to play the song.
Yeah.
And that's what those guys do, and I was like going, so I got to play the song too. So, so I'm sorry. I didn't mean
No. You're totally right. You're totally on point, because, it ties in with a lot, with everything basically that I've been saying this for a very, very long time. And I've said this in several, like in panel discussions. We had this panel discussion on Broadway bass on the Berklee College site, right? And there's always this emphasis on you gotta be versatile. You gotta be versatile. You gotta know a lot of styles of music. Be versatile, etc., etc. Yet, in my opinion, the definition of being versatile is not talked about, right? What is talked about is sort of an academic idea of, okay, well, this is what a Brazilian groove sounds like, right? This is what a second line sounds like. This is what a shuffle sounds like. That is kind of, that is part of it perhaps, but that's really just 10% of learning a style, learning a genre, learning the music. I always thought, and this totally ties in with what you just said, This totally ties in with, I took lessons with Rufus Reed, who said the same thing, right? Learn the sound of a song. In other words, learn the song, right? Play the right part for a song, and you will learn the genre, you will learn the style of playing, you will learn the style of music, right? But without the song, it doesn't work. So without the song, it doesn't work. Without the parts in the song, it doesn't work. That's it. It's a very, very important and sort of minute, and then not so much, because just don't play the bass parts. Don't stop till you can't get enough, right? Don't play the wrong bass part for that, and see how quickly shit turns around on you.
Yes,
because it will.
It'd be like, yo, man, yo.
No. You know what I mean? Like this, it's you need to know the right parts. You need to know the songs, right? And learning to play a style of music means learning to play the songs. There's just no two ways about that. In a lot of conversations, in a lot of discussions, yet that is being sort of the little bit of information that's being left out. In my opinion, right? That's just not. People kind of skip over it. Maybe they think they understand it. Maybe they imply it in certain things. But I'm like, okay, let me just be very clear about this. Learn the songs.
Learn the song, because what can happen is that one, because you want to have fun when you're playing with people,
right?
You want to have so music should be fun. It's like we ain't doing brain surgery. We're just having fun playing music.
Right.
So it's just that kind of thing. And like, 95, or I'll say 98% of the time when I'm playing and I thought, oh man, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna throw in this shit right here. 95% of the time when I've done that, immediately after I go, that was some bullshit.
Why did I do that?
What? It's like, you think, yeah, I'm doing it. That was some bullshit. So you just kind of go, just let it happen with what you're doing. Even if it's just a vroom, that can say a whole lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this line in, man. And like, you're going to go, oh, really? Yeah.
I'm so disappointed in myself right now.
I'm disappointed. And it's like, it's like, and like you say in your mind, you thought that bullshit was gonna work?
This is a conversation. It's totally true. That's a conversation that's going on while you're playing.
You're just kind of going, dude, really?
Really? What are you thinking, right? Yeah, you had to say that.
So many times I thought that. So I just go, you know what? Just let it happen naturally. Just let this flow with it. Don't try to go, yeah, I'm gonna do this, because I shoot myself in the foot.
I'm pretty sure that you were the one who many years ago told me, like, when you feel a lick coming up, wait until the next time in the cycle. Or wait until 2 more times in the cycle and then play it. I'm pretty sure that you told me something like that, many years ago. It might have been in passing, it might have been just, as part of a conversation or a larger conversation. But it was definitely something that started to, sit with me, and where I'm like, oh, wait a second, this. It's not only that you're playing a lick or you're playing a run or anything like that. You start anticipating, you start hearing stuff, you start, in a larger sense, improvising that way, right? And you're starting getting a overall picture of what's going on, like, and you really have to listen very, very carefully.
You gotta listen to what's going on around you.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Ron Jenkins, I thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Make sure you stay safe, stay sane out there, and hopefully in a couple months.
I hope so, man.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Stuff will open back up again, and it'll be safer Let's put it this way.
Safer, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you for having this forum for folks to listen and talk and chat. And to all my New York people, I miss y'all. But I ain't shoveling snow.
Awesome. Ron Jenkins, you take care now, all right?
All right.
All right, later.
Later.